Hello, fancy managers. Welcome to the FPL Addicts game week review for sort of game week 3's games, and moving forward, sort of a little bit of chat with. I've got the Rev, Mikey, with me this week. Just doing a little bit of a sort of chat on what's coming ahead in game week 4. So yeah, how you doing, Mikey? First and foremost, mate, how was your game week and so on? And
It's going well. It's going well. I feel like even though it was quite a low-scoring week, it's all relative, isn't it? So I think there was a couple of players that I had in there, like that we wildcarded into, like Saliba, who came in good for us, didn't they? Really, was that all right for you as well?
Yeah, it was fantastic. To be fair, yeah, when you put that guy on your bench. You obviously don't get the points, but we'll not go into that for now. We'll keep that away for now. And obviously, you've done great in terms of your FPL points this week and started the right players first and foremost, as you've alluded to there. But me not so good in terms of my points and so on. So we can always have a quick look at that. And
points aside, we are surrounded by a fantastic community. That's what it's all about at the end of the day.
Yeah, and I mean,
he's coming in with a double scouse. Maybe get your translators out, maybe turn on your subtitles if you need to get them in. And shout out to TT, Tom Edits in there, Liam saying, "All right, boys, hope you're all doing well as well. Good to have you in the chat today."
Yeah, so kind of like with everyone that's watching, any questions that you maybe want to put in there, feel free, boys. Whether it be a case of any moves that you're thinking about doing for game week 4, let us know, and we're happy to kind of help you with that. We're going to go over a few of the games from game week 3, as we said, review those and look at a couple of players maybe from each teams that. Whether they're currently in people's teams or maybe they should be moving forward. So, yeah, I mean, the 3 games that we could probably look at first and foremost from the weekend, Mikey, are, City, Newcastle. First and foremost, we go off that one. We've got Chelsea, Leeds, and then we've also got if I'm right in saying, just get them up here. Just when you need things to load up for you, they don't.
United versus Liverpool. Have you already blanked that one out of your mind?
I'm having.
He's definitely having some trauma from that game.
I'm having trauma problems, aren't I? I felt how bad that was, but yeah. So we'll look at those games. But first and foremost, Mikey, as I say, the Newcastle Man City game. What have you kind of got to say about that one, bud?
Well, first of all, what a game that was. Like, as a neutral watching that game, I've just got to say, it's so good to see something completely different to what you expect. So I think we all expected, and, apologies to TT as well in the chat, but, I did kind of expect Newcastle to maybe just roll over a little bit, maybe. He's going to do a Piers Morgan and walk off. I did think that Newcastle weren't going to stand up to Man City, and they came and they gave them a proper game, and they were 3-1 up at one point. And Kieran Trippier with an otherworldly free kick, absolutely sensational goal. And for those managers who either benched them or sold them, my heart goes out to them for their FPL teams. But yeah, fantastic goal, and again, some real key learning points as well from that game in particular for our FPL teams.
Fully agree in terms of what people did with the likes of Trippier and maybe even people who had Callum Wilson. There was some scenarios where people had even both of those players, and you can kind of forgive people for benching the likes of Trippier in a game like that because you just don't. you don't expect Newcastle to kind of get anything from it. You expect them to concede and so on. But the free kick, as you've alluded to there, Mikey, was absolutely top draw. And yeah, Newcastle going 3-1 up. I personally thought that was going to be it. That they were going to get the game done, get the 3 points and so on. But it wasn't to be. City come back with Kevin De Bruyne, who, really, there's so many ways you could describe that, but the guy is just incredible. He's phenomenal. He's a phenomenal footballer, and just showing his quality again. And even Bernardo Silva now, all the talks about him moving away to Barcelona and so on, just goes to show how actually important he is to that City team still. So, yeah, fantastic game, really. From a neutral point of view, it was just end-to-end battles going on. Trippier even getting the red card that got rescinded, of course. And do you agree with that? Do you think that it should have been a yellow, or do you think it was a bit of a dangerous tackle and deserved the red?
The thing is, like, as an Everton fan, I was really salty about that because I'm not sure if anyone remembers when Alan made a very similar tackle, bringing the player down, in his own half. Just, it was definitely a yellow, stopping that counter attack. Whereas, Alan, didn't go to VAR, just got the straight red, got the free game ban, didn't get the appeal turned over. Whereas Trippier does that, they go and look at it properly. And so, yeah, I was a bit salty about that, but ultimately it was the correct decision. And so, hopefully they can, just
and that's the thing,
the consistency.
Exactly that. It's the consistency. And I've seen something similar lately in terms of Rangers. John Lundstrom, a former sort of
the Lord himself,
the Lord Lundstrom of FPL, in our teams that got that cheeky defender / midfielder slot, but he done something similar, and he got a straight red. I mean, albeit he did actually really catch the man, and it was a bad one from behind. But I think it was as Craig was saying there. For me, it was a yellow card. So unbelievable game. Have you got anyone kind of from this game, whether it be City or Newcastle, that a couple of players that maybe you do like the look of? I know we've mentioned Trippier, and he's still being held by people. Some people have sold him. But would you say if you've got him, you keep him still, even though they got Liverpool?
Oh yeah, definitely. I think even if people like sold him last week, they're definitely going to be ripping the hair out today because he just looked like the free kick aside, he was getting all the way up and down the pitch. He was really pressuring those City wing backs as well. So even in a game like that where you would expect to be absolutely dominated, they just did so well. I think one of the players that I do have my eye on is obviously Erling Haaland. He's still registering insane amounts of XG. He's played about 250 minutes so far, and his XG per 90 is still above 1, which is insane for any FPL asset. The fact that it's 1.41 at the moment is absolutely ungodly. That is a disgusting amount of XG, and I think the time is coming when Erling Haaland is going to live up to his name and haul for us. And the second City player that I think we maybe really want to have our eyes on is Gundogan. I think his.
Yeah. I was hoping you would. I had a feeling that you might have said John Stones for a minute there, but I'm really glad.
No.
So go on.
Yeah. So Gundogan, his positioning is so advanced. He looks like he's even further ahead than KDB in terms of where his initial positioning is. Obviously, he ran from deep for the first goal, but that's just the way City play, regardless. And he's played 241 minutes so far, and he's registering expected goals of 0.4, which for a midfielder is actually pretty nuts. And then his expected assists per 90 as well, they could probably do with a bit of improvement. But the positioning's there, and it's a new system, and Man City look like they're only improving. Gundogan's the captain of the team. He looks about as nailed as they're going to get. So yeah, also some new people coming into the chat as well. IBK from the FPL Sandwich podcast. Good morning to you, bro. As well.
IBK.
Yeah, good to see you.
I agree in terms of those two players. I think great players. I think Haaland's still a pick. You know, Pep's come out and said about his minutes and so on.
Yeah.
Potentially being a risk for people, but I think the short term until Champions League does kick off, I don't think it's too much of a worry. Gundogan, fantastic pick. He actually rose in price. He's gone to 7.6 now overnight. And it just goes to show that even though he's sometimes even playing deep, he makes those runs into the box. And he's getting on the end of things. So, great 2 picks. Anyone from Newcastle?
Well, I think TT is going to like this one, and maybe Elliot if he's watching along later. But maybe not so much Gillas is going to like this one because he sold this man this week, much to his pain, is ASM, Alan St. Maximin, and he looked phenomenal. He made Kyle Walker look like a child, and the fact that he was so dangerous with his runs, and everything seems to be going through him as well. His creative stats in the build-up, whilst his expected goals aren't really much to write home about at like 0.2 xG per 90, his expected assists per 90 is 0.4, and so he's someone to really keep an eye out on because also his shots per 90 as well. He's getting about 2.5 shots per 90 minutes, which is great from a Premier League player, and at a bargain price. I think we could see a lot more from ASM. Maybe this could be the season that he's finally adding some end product. To what is a very flashy game.
I thought he was absolutely frightening, to be honest with you, is the word to use. His dribbling, the way he ran at that City backline and so on. And as you say there, if he's got that end product and he's worked on that, he seems to be improving that, then, 3 assists is by no means bad at all in a game against one of the best, if not the best side in the country. Anybody else, or you just you go for St. Max at the moment?
Well, yeah, St. Max and Kieran Tripps were probably my 2 guys. But if we just turn our attention back to the comments, we have IBK, the FPL Sandwich. He's asking me, can I say a prayer for his team? Unfortunately, IBK, there are certain things that prayer just can't fix. So I'm sorry, bro.
He went big at the back, right? I think he's been big at the back for a while. It's done okay this season, to be fair. At the beginning of the season, not too many complaints for that. But this week in terms of big at the back, you had the likes of Arsenal, and you had the likes of, in terms of the bigger teams that you'd have, it'd be Spurs and Arsenal with a 2 to go with, and not many people kind of have a double Arsenal defence or a double Spurs defence. Everyone's City or Chelsea or Liverpool and so on. So, really great unlucky there, IBK. But just want to say before you carry on there, Mikey, I just want to anyone that's new in the kind of chat that's coming. I know we've got a few regular guys in there, and that's absolutely fantastic to see some of you guys, especially from the community. But if you're anyone new who's jumped in, drop a like and a subscribe if you can. It'd be really appreciated for the channel and so on. But crack on, Mikey.
Yeah, I think it's great to see so many new faces, and if anyone wants to hit that subscribe button, it really does help us out. I think that's a lot from that first game. I think we can move on to that second game. Now, a game that I watched personally, as I was nervously watching one of my transfers in. I took a -4 this week to go from Bowen to Rodrigo, and the Leeds versus Chelsea game, well, that was a game that treated me really well. I'm not sure if anyone in the chat was watching that game. If you had any Leeds assets, do drop them in the comments below so we can celebrate together. But also, if you had any Chelsea assets, I do think I know that a couple of the guys here maybe even brought in Sterling as well. So maybe that's something to keep our eye on. Reedy, you got any thoughts on that game, mate?
Where do we start, really? I mean, Chelsea's sort of back line at the moment. We're seeing Reece James in right centre back and Loftus-Cheek out on the right. So ineffective on that side at the moment, and we're so used to seeing them. Certainly Reece James. Anyway, we saw them in that Tottenham game, the back end of that being more effective and so on. So you really have got to say fair play to Leeds. Absolutely brilliant home crowd. They were fully prepared to get stuck in and weren't afraid from the first minute. So Brendan Aronson, Rodrigo, two players in that Leeds side who were looking really, really good, and Leeds deserved the win. Fully deserved the win. I mean, Koulibaly's got a red now, so that's another problem to Chelsea's defences. You got Stephen in the chat there.
Hey, shout out, Steve. Good to see you in the chat. Good to meet you at Game Week 39 as well, my friend.
Yeah, great to have you on, buddy.
The old
I remember him well.
Yeah, of course.
I remember him well. But thanks for coming on and getting involved in the stream, Stephen. Good to see you, buddy. And I hope your FPL season's going well, mate. And as I say, as we both said, I think any questions, throw it in here, any sort of plans or transfers you think of for Game Week 4, or even if you're rolling, just let us know. But yeah, as I say, brilliant game, mate, as you've mentioned there. And
a lot of talk about Rodrigo, to be honest, before going into the game. And I think part of the reason why is that his underlying data looks good, and he's so good on the eye test as well. So we know that in the first two games, he's obviously produced a lot of attack and returns already. People were kind of and ahhing about whether or not to bring him in before the Chelsea game, and well, I was not expecting a goal and an assist from the guy, to be honest.
I mean, the second one, he got a bit lucky, though. Let's be honest. That he meant to shoot there. He definitely meant to shoot.
Well, you've got sometimes you make your own luck, and he worked hard to get in that position, and the fact that he got there before the defender to even create a touch, that either goes into the back of the net or it falls to one of his players. And lo and behold, it did. His expected assists per 90 so far this season is 0.5, which is massive. His expected goals per 90 is 0.84. By the way, 0.84. This is a midfielder that we're talking about in FPL who is cheap as chips. There was so much talk about the £8 million midfielders going into the season, and here we have Rodrigo and the likes of Martinelli absolutely smashing it. Even people like Brendan Aronson's underlying data isn't amazing so far, but he looks so incredible on the eye test, doesn't he? And his data is a bit skewed at the minute because the XG for his goal, which was basically a tap in from that, by the way, Mendy howler. By the way, any Chelsea fans in the chat that are going to be seeing that in the nightmares. But the XG for that goal was 0.88 alone. So his XG per 90 is a little bit skewed right now. So hopefully we'll get a better idea of what he is. But if I was going to have a recommendation between Rodrigo and Aronson, I'd definitely be going with Rodrigo.
No, of course. I can't complain with that. And well done for bringing him in, Mikey. I think there was someone in the chat that also brought him in. So fair play to you guys. I mean, there was a question, I think, from potentially Liam, who he was asking, would you hold Mason Mount for Leicester home or cut your losses? And I know that I started with Mason Mount at the beginning of the season. He's not delivered, and people really did they wanted to hold him for the Leeds game, and Rodrigo's kind of done what Mason Mount owners would hope he'd do. So would you say he's a hold for the Leicester game at least, or would you get him out now?
It's one of those where it's kind of team dependent. So if you've literally got no other fires to put out, if you've got players with terrible fixtures that you don't want to swap around, Leicester is a really good fixture for attackers. Leicester's defense is leaky, and so selling a Chelsea attacker before a Leicester game, just when you say it out loud, seems like a bad idea. The same can kind of be said, as IBK is pointing out in the chat, with players like Saka. These players people are thinking about selling, but with the run of fixtures that they have, the fact that they're part of the attack, maybe patience could be the key here. Sometimes in FPL, patience is everything. And I think if you have these players, I would suggest personally, I would hold them.
Yeah, no, it's a good piece of advice. I think just to touch on the patience side of things, me and you know all too well about patience, don't we, Rev, in terms of playing wild cards and so on in game week 2. But we'll not talk about that too much. Yeah, we'll not talk about that too much. But in terms of patience, absolutely what you're saying, and your transfers and other fires in your team that need fixing, so to speak. So
yeah, and this is all advice coming from the FPL hitman himself.
Yeah, well, listen, we're on par now. We've both played a wild card. We've both taken a -4, albeit you are doing better than me at the moment with your picks.
Just a little bit better.
And Saliba, yeah. So I've got to give that to you. I've got to give all credit to you, mate. But I think, as I say, I have to agree in terms of Mount being a hold just for one more week with Leicester leaking goals and not really looking too great, getting beat by Southampton at home. That's huge, really. So I'd keep him one more week. Hold the transfer if you can. If there's other fires that you need sort of sorting out, sort those out. But yeah, good things come to those who wait and don't take hits.
Exactly.
But yeah, so moving on to actually, before I move on, is there anyone from Chelsea who you'd look at bringing in, or would you just stay clear of that for now? Unless you've got Reece James or Cucurella or whatever, you probably...
There's some people who have maybe been asking, do we sell Reece James for Perisic? If you've got Reece James and you don't have Perisic, the answer is no for me. I think you've got to back your guy. We know what Reece James can do. I think the thing is as well, Chelsea have had some difficult fixtures and they have been playing in such a way to accommodate those. So although we did see Reece James at right centre back this week, he's not going to play there every game. And when he does play right wing back, we know exactly the damage that he can do. So Reece James is the first one. The second player that I kind of want to highlight right now is Raheem Sterling. I think maybe some of us are seeing exactly why Pep sold him, because he is getting some shots off every night. Like his shots per 90, he's getting about 2 shots per 90, which is okay. And his expected assists are quite low as well. So even though he's getting into those attacking positions, the quality of what he can produce from those positions hasn't been amazing. So, I think if someone is looking to bring in Raheem Sterling, I'd say definitely avoid him for now, because his underlying stats, they just aren't there.
Yeah. No, that's fair enough. You go with the stats there, and it clearly shows that he's not really as effective. And I suppose at the 10 million plus bracket, he really still does make it difficult to get him into people's teams and so on. So yeah, moving on to the next game in terms of Liverpool or Manchester United being home team, I should say, and then Liverpool.
Well, I've just got to ask, Reedy. I've just got to ask you: are you okay?
I'm fine. Mate? Yeah, absolutely fine. Absolutely fine. Yes, yeah, of course I am. Annoyed last night. Obviously annoyed with how we played the game. Really frustrating. And I suppose we can go into kind of chat about that now briefly. I'm not going to take too much time ranting away, because I think Bournemouth next. I expect us to win that game and sort of maybe get a bit of confidence back for the team. But in terms of the game itself, good game. Realistically, I mean, fair play to Manchester United coming out. They had the fans going. Rashford playing up top. Which is where he should be playing. If Ronaldo's not on the pitch. So fair play to Ten Hag for his formation, the way he set up and his starting lineup was, I think, exactly what it needed to kind of be, and what it should have been probably previously in the first 2 games for United. But yeah, so Rashford with the goal, Sancho with the goal, and Salah sort of for FPL managers getting a return, which I think come the end of the game, Mikey. Especially if you're Ollie Walker-Peel and you're triple captain Mo Salah, you're getting a bit of, it's squeaky bum time. So it was nice to see him get on the score sheet, to be honest. Yeah, what do you think of the game generally? I think any positives from United? I mean, a lot of positives people would say, but in terms of an FPL point of view, would you say there's anything we look for?
It's just one of those where like football is just so unpredictable. Football's so mad. Like all eyes were on Man United getting absolutely trashed this game week, and not only were things going off in the dressing room for Manchester United, but also things were looking quite bad in like a board level for them, with the fan protests. I think everyone, myself included, were expecting Liverpool to go in there and absolutely roll them over. And yet what we had from Man United was a committed performance from a team who looked hungry. Jill is there saying any positives from United?
From an FPL point of view, obviously a positive game. Yeah. I know Jack enjoys that from being a United fan, but positives, more a sense from an FPL point of view is that's kind of where it was.
Yeah. So in terms of FPL, you've got to think now for Manchester United that in that dressing room, having dropped the club captain Harry Maguire and having dropped Ronaldo, Erik ten Hag has probably gained a lot of clout in that dressing room after doing that and seeing that performance go out there like they did. And so, am I going to be bringing in Marcus Rashford personally? No. Do I hate it if someone wants to? I don't hate it at all. Like maybe Man United go really push on from here. A big win against your rivals is sometimes all the confidence you need to go and start banging in results week in, week out.
Yeah.
So
it certainly will give them the confidence, and I think players like Rashford certainly thrive off that and need that. I think Sancho and Elanga being in the team, looked really, really good for United. And I think Varane as well needs to be in that side. It's so evident and clear. So they were really, really good. I can't take anything away from United. I mean, another below par performance from Liverpool, and people had Luis Diaz and Trent and Salah, even some Robbo holders still for this game week. And they didn't sort of deliver.
It's painful to watch. Like I know I'm an Everton fan, but I'm also an FPL player. The fact that like I'm sat there with Salah and Trent in my team, and they're both like, well, for Salah's still doing okay, but Trent in particular, I was this close, mate. I was this close last night before the Perisic price rise. I was this close to going from Trent to Perisic. I was so close, and I still, to be honest, I still might do it. Going into
are you sure about taking Trent out? Do you think that's a wise decision in terms of his price getting back to him if you need to and so on?
But like, this is the thing about like Liverpool is that like, even if they don't get the result that they want, at least they look good, and at least they look threatening, at least they look committed, at least they look passionate. Whereas like Man United ran you off the park. Like the amount of distance Man United covered was so much more than
That's true. But what I will say to you, before you think about anything like that Trent Alexander-Arnold is the league rank amongst defenders in 3 game weeks. His chances created, he's number 1. His big chance involvements, he's first as well. His XA first, his XGI first. Touches in the final third
there, isn't it?
Yeah.
But the thing is, he's what's that translated to in reality is that he's got 4 FPL points total. 4 FPL points total, and it's
100%. You look at it in terms of what he costs in the game and what he's delivered. It's certainly below par, 100%. He gave the ball away so many times last night; it was unbelievable. So, people are certainly going to consider it, but I think the Bournemouth fixture coming up, it would really, really be silly to kind of move him out at this point in time, I think, in the season. So, I mean, that for you, Mikey, in terms of taking him out and bringing Perisic in, you've also got to keep your eyes, this early in the week anyway, for FPL managers, keep your eyes peeled and your ears open, because Perisic apparently has come off and may have took a knock, potentially be slightly injured.
Okay.
So it's always going to be a risk, but yeah, 3 fantastic games, unbelievable, really. I think, as I say, the standout, as we know, is Newcastle City. I think most people were not expecting a 3-3 at St James's Park, and unbelievable. But in terms of moving on to game week 4, just briefly, a lot of people will have players in the team, myself included, that have got home fixtures. I think off the top of my head, I've got about 10 players that have got home fixtures. And bearing that in mind, the likes of what we've mentioned about Rodrigo for Leeds, and any of the players that people might want to bring in. Leeds have got an away fixture to Brighton, who've looked really, really good at the beginning of the season. Do you think that there's not that many transfers people need to make this game week in terms of taking a -4, for example? Would you advocate that or not?
Yeah, I think this week feels like a bit of a freak game week. I think our Tiff, who's a member of our group chat, beloved member of our FPL community, is saying, like, is big at the back done? Is big at the back buried? I don't necessarily think so. I think maybe it's one of those where we've just had a bit of a freak game week where all the big teams have conceded. How often do we see Newcastle and Man City have a game like that? That was such an amazing game. I just feel privileged to have watched, just end-to-end stuff all the time. The Leeds game with Chelsea, like, how often do we see that? How often do we see Man United score 2 in a game? Never mind against Liverpool, So, it's shots fired. But the thing is, I think big at the back is definitely a hold if you have it. But if you are looking to jump ship, I think looking at going big at the front is a real possibility. I've got Haaland, Kane, and Jesus in my team, and that served me very well this week. Yeah. And they've got the form and the fixtures to just keep going. I'll be laughing.
Yeah. A couple of questions before we kind of wrap up the the review and so on. I think people are saying about, I think someone said about holding Robbo. Tiffany's saying they're big at the back, done and buried. She thinks, and you've just mentioned about that there. Andy Robertson, is he a hold or is he a get rid this week? Would you think, Mikey?
It's a tough one, mate, because I was this close to selling Trent. Like, if I had Robbo, personally, like, I would. As JRX is saying there in the chat, maybe it is perhaps time to move him on to a Perisic or a Cucurella, but I wouldn't do that until we get some press conference news from
For me personally, I would pick, if you haven't got him, Zinchenko would be the one potentially, or even if you wanted to go right down to a Saliba, I think those two. That guy again. He's causing me nightmares, isn't he? Not picking him. He's definitely in my team this week.
I can't believe you benched Saliba, bro.
Yeah,
I think that's like a classic knee jerky thing though, because obviously you got the own goal last week, and you were just like, well, that's it. He's not going in my team now.
No, listen, I didn't have any hate on the guy at all. It's just that, me being me in terms of the silver.
The thing is, though, if you're not playing Saliba at Bournemouth, when are you playing him? Do you know what I mean, bro?
Like, against Fulham at home.
Yeah. Oh, totally. He's lost his head.
Yeah. But as I say, I think in terms of Robertson, to give yourself some more funds around the team, I do think the Arsenal defenders are something to definitely look at. I would throw caution to the wind on the likes of Cucurella, with Koulibaly being out, potentially playing left centre back. We don't know, and the likes of I think City defenders at the moment as well. They've got Palace at home, but most people will have the likes of whether it's Haaland, KDB, Cancelo, and so on. So yeah, but other than that, I mean,
just one of them, really, isn't it? Like, I think FPL Rubber Ducky in the chat has said it's been a ducking disaster this week, and I think he's right. I think that this week has been one of those where it's been a bit of an anomaly for sure, and I think patience can be key, FPL managers. So if maybe just wait for that press conference news. Don't make any too knee-jerky decisions. And I know that's coming from me and Reedy, who've both already smashed our wild cards out the window this season. But we can lead you to a path that we can't follow. Maybe take our
getting all philosophical on us now.
Yeah, Yeah, exactly. Yeah, but don't do what we say, not what we do.
Yeah. In terms of sort of, you know, any questions people might have, or any sort of, you know, burning questions or problems they might have in the team at the moment, you know, get in the Discord. We've got that basically. If you go to either mine and Rev's Twitter handles, which yours is, Rev.
It's
Of course,
yeah, FPL Addicts Rev.
Yeah. There we go. So mine's at FPL Addicts Reedy. So if you go to the link tree there, you've got the link to the Discord and so on. So, you know, we've got a great community going in there, and yeah. So I mean, I think, as I say, we'll wrap up there. It's been great to have a chat and
the
sort of
details for the Discord. Yeah, they're in the captions below as well. We are going to be hanging out in there for a little bit after the stream if you want to come and hang out with us. And before we go as well, if you've not hit the subscribe button, then please do hit the subscribe button. It really helps us out. And thanks for everyone as well for hanging out as well in the chat with us today. It's been really good to spend some time with you all.
Yeah. No, it's been great. As I say, chat about the games, and you know, sort of look at some of these players that are good and bad for you know, the previous game week and moving forward as well. So I'm sure there'll be lots to talk about during the week. Tuesday at the moment, so you know, a few days for people to tinker and ponder and so on. But yeah, it was great to have a discussion with you, Mikey. But thanks to the guys in the chat for joining us. Some great questions in there and so on. And yeah. Best of luck moving into game week 4.